Unfortunately, we do have to have the public participation or online. So just stay where you are for the time being. I'll let you know as soon as we're back with the meeting. Thank you very much, councillors. We are back live on YouTube, so I'm going to ask Councillor Esu to please continue with his 1 minute.
Goeiemôre Speaker, môre collega's. Speaker, van die ANC se kant af ondersteun ons hierdie item. Wanneer dit kom by mense wat regtig waar 'n notas van behuising, is die ANC aan die voorkant om te verseker dat diegene dan voorsien word van behuising. So ons as die ANC ondersteun hierdie item. Baie dankie Speaker.
Ukuthi-ke thina siyi-ANC siyayixhasa kakhulu lo mba ngoba kaloku thina siyi-ANC siyakholelwa ukubana abantu abanezidingo zezindlu kufuneka kufikelelwe kwizidingo zabo bazinikwe izindlu. Ngoko ke thina siyayixhasa akufikelelwe kumbono onjena uba kufikelelwe kwizidingo zoluntu.
Thank you very much. The next person to speak on this item is the Good Party, Councillor Lowe. You have 1 minute.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, item 8.1 table before Council raises a number of questions regarding the method used to identify beneficiaries. We cannot deal with community members as if they are part of a housing stock. We understand that people must qualify for these opportunities, but could this not have been done prior to beneficiaries moving on into the properties? This project has provided 79 housing opportunities, which is a drop in the ocean when dealing with a number of residents requesting homes. I would like to encourage the municipality to identify additional developments of a similar nature so that we are able to provide housing to those earning above the 3,500 per month. As a result, many of our communities no longer qualify for the BNG housing, which excludes them from becoming homeowners. I wish to thank the official
Time, please, Councillor.
for subsidy administration.
Thank you, Councillor. Your time is up, unfortunately. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker.
The next person to speak on this item is the PBI. You have 1 minute.
Dankie, Speaker. Speaker, ons as die PBI is in gunste van behuising en ontwikkeling vir die voorheen benadeelde gemeenskappe. Die PBI stel dit onomwonde en hier haal ons die grondwet aan dat elke landsburger die reg het tot toegang tot behuising. Ons is regtig bekommerd as die PBI omdat die DA en sy koalisie vennote so lank sloer om ons mense van ordentlike behuising te voorsien. Die PBI is ook bewus dat die DA-koalisie-regering hierdie behuisingprojekte misbruik as 'n verkiesingsfoefie en uit te buit so die behoeftes van die voorheen benadeeldes uit. Die mense bly al vir 20 jaar in hartlike omstandighede op die ewe. Die tenniskleibaan is egter vir die regering 'n beter opsie as behuising vir die voorheen benadeelde gemeenskappe. Dankie. Speaker.
You can have a translation.
PBI Thina ke siyayixhasa kakhulu uphuhliso lwabantu lwezindlu, abantu basiwe kwindawo ezizizo zokuhlala. Uthi ke wonke ummi ngokwemithetho ekhoyo okanye ngokwamalungelo asimlungileyo aseMzantsi Afrika, wonke ummi unelungelo lokubana makabe nendawo yokuhlala elungileyo nendawo yokuhlala eyiyo. Uthi ke nangona ke yona i-DA ithatha lethuba lezindlu, ifaka abantu kwizindlu, ibalindise abantu ixesha elide neminyaka emide. Uthi abantu abahleli iminyaka eyi-20 years behleli belindele ukuxhamla kwiiprojekthi ezikhoyo. Uthi ke siyayibona uba i-DA isebenzisa le campaign okanye le project izindlu nge-election campaign, mhlawumbi kuba bona befuna kuba kuyiwa kunyulo, ngoku benze ingathi bona benzela abantu, balibale ukubana ngamalungelo abantu abo. Vele wonke umntu ngokomthetho kunyanzelekile uba afakwe ezindlini futhi abe sendaweni eyiyo. Enkosi.
Thank you very much. The next person to speak on this item is the EFF. Councillor Kampi, you have 1 minute.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, as it is said by my previous colleagues and some others, that it is one of the good things that people should have a shelter to live on. But as much as it looks sweet, but if you even can recognize the surnames that are here are your people. So which means at some point, you as the DA, you are trying by all means to isolate our people on receiving all the good necessities and the good living that they deserve also as part of the citizens of George municipality, of which we cannot even say that is a good thing. As much as you guys are always say you are fighting for the people, but for you, the people of Georgia, the people with the white skin, of which for us, that is not a good thing. Because if you even go to these areas, it's a few that you find black people there. Even if there are 2 or 3 of them, you find that they are always being issued fines and that they are troubling the area. So we cannot sit here and say everything is well while everything is not well for our people. Yet, and you always prioritize the people because you know next year is elections. We cannot run away from that fact that we know it's elections, and you try by all means
Thank you, Councillor. Your time is up. Thank you. Thank you very much. The next person to speak on this item is Councillor Smart from the PA. You have 1 minute.
Dankie, baie dankie Speaker. Die raadsheer wat die mosie of die item ingedra het, moes net bygesê dat ons as die komitee van Human Settlement het die ding deurgetrap en dit is vir ons nie 'n voorreg dat ons mense wat lank wag vir behuising dat hulle dit moet kry nie. Dit is 'n reg. So hierdie ding is goed deurgetrap in 'n lang vergadering. So daarom support die PA dit. Ons wil hê dat enige politiekery hier gebruik moet word nie, want dit is nie die DA alleen wat die besluit geneem het. Ons almal het saam dieselfde besluit geneem. Baie dankie, Speaker.
No, you have the power. You have the power.
Councillor Kampi, please. Thank you. Please translate.
Thank you, Speaker. Uthi ke iPA thina umntu ongenisa okanye ukhansela ebekuceba ebengenisa lo mba khange ayiqinisise okanye khange ayinyanzelise okanye ayichaze into yokubana siye sawuxoxa lo mba phaa kwikomiti ye-Human Settlement apho thina singoceba abo banemibutho ehlukahlukeneyo siye sawuxoxa lo mba futhi ke kwafikelelwa kwesi sigqibo sisiso ngoku futhi ke ililungelo labantu ekudala behleli phana belindile izindlu kwafikelelwa kwesi sigqibo ba abantu mabanikwe ezi zindlu. Ngoko ke thina CPA siyayixhasa futhi ke i-DA mayingenzi ngathi ngabo bodwa abafikelele kwesi sigqibo.
Thank you very much. The next to reply is Councillor Losi or Councillor Nkamile. No, sorry. Katano.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Speaker. Njengaba abemi base George, siyabulela kakhulu kwi-Committee Human Settlements ngezinto ezithi bahlale bazi-approve. Siyabulela nakwi-officials zethu ngomsebenzi omhlaba wenzayo. Thina siyi-DA siyazi ukubana abantu abaninzi bayazidinga izindlu kwaye Siyayazi ukubana zonke ezi zinto sizama uzenzela abantu, senzela wonke umuntu. Enkosi kakhulu ke kwikomiti ye-Human Settlements, kuwo wonke umuntu ophaa kulaa komiti, ngokuthi ancedisane nathi ukuthi si-approve zonke ezi zindlu. Siyabulela. Enkosi, Speaker.
Thank you, Speaker. We, as the George residents, we are very much grateful to the Human Settlement Committee and to the Human Settlement officials for making this project come to pass. We want to say we are really grateful, and we know that we as the DA people, we want to see everybody accommodated. Everybody is in need of houses, so we want to accommodate everybody. So we are grateful, and therefore we second the recommendation.
Alderman Petrus, according to the rules of order, as the chairperson of housing, I would like to know, do you have something that you'd like to explain on behalf of the group?
Ja, baie dankie, Speaker. Ek wil net as MMC verantwoordelik vir menslike nedersettings enige aantuiging of suggestie wat daar is dat ons behuising gebruik vir politieke doeleindes ten sterkste verwerp en dat ons die doel wat ons dien is om ons mandaat uit te voer, en dit is om huise te voorsien, gehalte behuising te voorsien aan ons mense. En jy het afgelei van die komiteelede, het dit geondersteun wat op die menslike nedersettingskomitee is. Dit is goed deurgetrap. Ons beoefen nie politiek by daardie komiteevergaderings nie. Ons mandaat is weer eens om te voldoen aan die voorsiening van behuising. So ek verwerk ten sterkste enige suggestie dat ons behuising gebruik vir politieke doeleindes.
Mr. Paulus.
Okay. Uthi ke yena njengosihlalo wala komiti yokuhlaliswa kwabantu ufuna nje ukuphelisa intetho ezikhoyo ezivakalayo ke nezithethekayo ezingathi thina sisebenzisa ukunikezelwa kwabantu njenge-political purposes okanye njengeenjongo zepolitiki. Uthi owethu umyalelo ucacica kubana masincede uluntu uthi bonelele ngezindlu. Ngoko ke thina siyile komiti siye sahlala phansi sayixoxa futhi yakovulwa lo mba waxoxisiswa wonke amaqela ehlangene. Ngoko ke intetho ezithethekayo zokubana sipractice ipolitics ukubana ngoku senza ingathi siyarhwebesha ukunikezela abanye abantu, ndithi nje mandizithulise ezo ntetho zinjalo, akunjalo.
Thank you very much. That concludes that item. We therefore move on to the next item, which is item 9, minutes of the Municipal Public Accounts Committee. We had nothing. We move on to item 10, reports to Municipal Public Accounts Committee impact on the 11th of April. Do we have a first item is 10.1, internal audit report to impact. And the first person to speak on that item is Councillor Du Toit. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I will be frank in not wasting the time of the council and the public, but on the 11th of April 2023, Impact had a meeting to review the internal audit report. I just want to stress that Impact is consisting of 6 out of the 8 political parties in the George municipality. So it's not just 1 or 2 parties, but it's 6 parties taking part in Impact. Now, Impact was to review the internal audit report for the period of 1 November 2022 to 31 December 2022 and make recommendations to Council in line with the requirements of the Act 79A 3B of the Local Government Municipal Structures Amended Act. Impact worked through this November to December 22, and in light of that, I want to propose that we take the recommendations A and B on page 174. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. The next person to speak on this item is the EFF, Councillor Ntamile. You have 1 minute, please. Councillor Ntamile, your time is running. You have 1 minute. I'm going to call out once more. Councillor Ntamile, you have 1 minute. Your time is running. Doesn't seem as though he's in the meeting. I'm therefore going to ask that we move on. The last person to speak on this item, therefore, is Councillor Gultev. You have 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Speaker, for this opportunity. As Councillor Du Toit mentioned on page 172 to 178 with the 185 with the report that we recommend A and B to the Council. A with the report that was audited, and secondly with the actions that will be agreed upon with the timeframes by management. Therefore, I second the proposal. Thank you, Chair. Speaker.
Thank you very much. We therefore move on. That's carried. The next item is item 11, reports to Council. The first item on this is item 11.1, quarterly budget monitoring report for January to March. And the first person to speak on this item is Councillor Wessels. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Speaker.
Sorry, Councillor. The Mayor needs to do the first part of it. Sorry. He needs to take it.
Thank you, Speaker, for this opportunity to table the financial report for the third quarter of the 22-23 financial year. Just some of my observations before Councillor Wessels carries the matter further. I think if we look at the operating revenue, it is quite clear that the one area of concern is obviously our electricity revenue, where we have an ongoing concern, being the uncertainty of the level of load shedding that we are likely to experience going into the fourth quarter, and how that would then ultimately impact on our total revenue from electricity for the year. I think Council will recall that at the adjustment budget stage, we indicated that we would probably be 101 million rand short for the year in terms of the revenue. So that is something that we will continue to monitor. If one looks at the rest of the operating revenue and the operating expenditure, it certainly appears that in most of the other categories, the position is looking pretty good in terms of actual versus planned at this stage. In turning to the capital expenditure, one of the challenges that we're going to be having in the course of this financial year is the recording of the amount of capital expenditure that we have undertaken. We started the year with original expenditure of 787 million rand, and to date, based on that original expenditure, we are progressing pretty well after the third quarter. In addition to the figures that we have at this stage, there are 100 million rands worth of orders at Civil and Engineering Services and Electrotech as of the end of March, which indicates that expenditure will no doubt be flowing through either in the course of this month or next month. And I believe most of the rest of those capital projects are on target to be able to meet the limits that we have set ourselves in terms of the SD bib. Council will also ever note that at the February adjustment budget, our capital expenditure was increased from 787 to 827 through an adjustment that took place there. And further, since February to date, we have been awarded a total of 417 million rands worth of additional capital expenditure by way of grants, being the portion of disaster funding of 237 million rand, which has been transferred to us, as well as a figure of 180 million comprising additional funding on the PTNG, being for Go George, and 135 million in terms of the BFI. Now, we had indicated to National Treasury that we will be spending the additional 50 million out of the 135 million, but they've advanced 85 million to us, which we will then need to roll over, as it is actually expenditure that's only expected to take place after June. On the disaster funding, those are projects that will need to be undertaken over a period longer than the 3 months in which we've had the cash, and some of them are fairly large projects that will only be completed in the next financial year. So for that technical reason, we are going to have to record different levels of actual expenditure that have taken place. If we turn to our debtors have reached 454 million rand, and the collection rate has improved to almost 92%, which is commendable, and we look forward to reaching our target of 95-96%, which is the expected budget expenditure for the year. Speaker, as mentioned, I hereby table the quarterly report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alderman. I apologize for the slight glitch in that. And we therefore carry on with Councillor Wessels. Councillor Wessels, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Speaker. I think the Mayor stole my speech. But I maybe want to reiterate a couple of things, and the one is that the capital expenditure that's sitting on 51% inclusive of the shadows, and that equates to about 9 million that's ahead of the SDBIB, which is really a phenomenal achievement. And I think Council owes the administration a very big hand in the way that George municipality is currently able to consistently deliver services to the people. Furthermore, I think it's important that we note that the income is ahead of the plan, and the decrease in the operating expenditure. The 3% less operating expenditure gives assurance to the George public that George municipality is really working responsibly with the funds, and that even though load shedding is having a massive impact on the national economy, George municipality is really taking the hand of our ratepayers to, one, ensure that we deliver the services, but two, that we consistently work responsibly with the funds. On the capital expenditure, again, I want to reiterate that between elect and civil, we have respectively 36 million and 63 million that is currently in orders, ensuring the public that we put a tremendous effort in ensuring that our infrastructure remain above standard, and that we are combating the load shedding effects in every way possible. So, Speaker, with that, I would again like to reiterate and really like to thank the administration for their continued progress and their hard work over this quarter. This is a report that is for noting, so I would thus propose as such. Thank you very much.
Very much, Councillor. The next person to speak on this item is Councillor F. Ndaka. You have 2 minutes.
Good morning, fellow councillors. As the ANC speaker and the council, the recommendation said we must take note, but I cannot really just take note of what is said and what is written here on the budget, which is I will really have to have a bite on it. First of all, we are doing this for compliance. You know that the MFMA says that we must do this thing. Mayor and your coalition, you are doing this out of compliance. I was thinking that you mentioned when I vessel that there's 36 million, 63 million for elect and silver. You know, we are sitting with shacks, we are sitting with informal settlements that doesn't have electricity, that is busy wasting municipalities' funds by taking the electricity off from the houses that are rightfully have electricity, but you don't talk anything about that. There was nothing planned for the informal settlement. Is that right? That is not right. We cannot be happy about that. We can't be happy because those informal settlements need urgently, because there are kids that are dying. This is a second child under the age of 10 years that has died because of the electricity shock, because of those illegal cables that are going there. But there's no such. We are busy praising electricity as if that you are doing best in George as the electricity department, and of which in Thembalethu or in other areas that are not in town, we don't see that. But what we see is that you are adding more money to the poor. The income that you are busy here clapping your hands about it, it's coming from the poorest of the poor people in Thembalethu. You just added the app thing in the electricity. People are struggling to get to the electricity because they must buy more 40 amps. They must buy 40 amps.
Councillor.
Where does the poor people get the money? They don't have money.
Thank you, Councillor. Your time is up. You had 2 minutes. Thank you very much for that. We're going to move on. The next person to speak on this item is Councillor Masase.
No, why are you saying?
Your time was up, Councillor. Thank you. You only had 2 minutes. Councillor Faith.
I was still speaking.
Councillor Faith, your time was up, so therefore you no longer have time to speak. I've moved on to Councillor Masase. Thank you.
It is the electricity part.
Thank you, Speaker. The Good Party takes note of the quarterly budget monitoring report for the third quarter of the year. Speaker, is good. We are concerned by the amount of overtime the municipality is currently paying. In most, if not all of the departments, we are seeing overtime. Our concern is that the overtime is not sustainable. We wish to advise the municipality to look into more cost-effective solutions to the matter, like filling vacancies so that normalcy can be the order of day and the municipality can save money. Speaker, when it comes to revenue collection, we take note that the municipality collected less than it anticipated when it comes to the electricity. However, Speaker, the matter of electricity remains a vital matter for us, as we know the negative impact and burden that the municipality's tariff increases on the residents of George places, more in particular the poor and vulnerable. We once again wish to appeal to the municipality to reconsider the increases, especially on electricity, and revise the 20 amp electricity supply for indigent residents. Far too many of our people have complained that it impacts their lives negatively because they are not able to use their electricity in the way in which they want to. They can't connect more than 2 appliances at the same time without the power tripping. This is not what our people deserve. We ought to be innovative on additional ways in which municipality can generate revenue, as access to electricity remains a basic human right. Speaker, when it comes to the implementation of the SDBIP, we are very disappointed to see 3 out of 5 of the actual strategic performance and corrective measures or indicators that are being measured are not satisfactory. The top layer SDBIP is used to report on the organizational performance of the municipality to council and the community. It is important that the municipality's targets are met to ensure that the municipalities run accordingly. In the report tabled under this item today, we see that under strategic objective 1, develop and grow George, we have not been able to revitalize the current community facilities to increase the access of services to the public. The target set for the period was 65%, but we only achieved 24%. Under strategic objective 2, affordable quality services, we also see that we have not been able to perform well in this KPI. Under this KPI, we set a target of 60%. But only 8% was achieved. This is the KPI that focuses on the improvement of roads. The residents of George have different opinions regarding this. If you are somebody who resides in town, whether the municipality is doing well to maintain roads versus somebody from Thembalethu, for example, we'll get two different answers. Town residents remain satisfied, but the latter is not, which shows that we are not providing equal services among our residents. While we understand that we didn't achieve the target because of grants were allocated late, we still
Councillor. Thank you. Sorry about that. Your time is up. Thank you. The next person to speak on this item is the PBI. You have 1 minute, Mr. Councillor Peterson.
Mr. Speaker, the budget report that serves before us is an indication as to how much of the budget of the current financial year has been spent. On the overall position of the budget, it is indicated that we have underperformed with about 10% of the period under review. Yet we eagerly accept monies from National Treasury that will not be spent within the current financial year. Mr. Speaker, the reasons given for the variances leaves a lot to be desired for. In most of his speeches on budget-related matters, the Mayor and his financial sidekick blame the performance of the electricity revenue on load shedding. Mr. Speaker, we believe there is a specific drive to regain lost revenue on AMPs by charging consumers retrospectively for these charges since the start of the financial year. Mr. Speaker, we believe that this decreasing of the AMPs was not properly consulted with the community. Mr. Speaker, we believe that the delays in capital projects should be addressed urgently, specifically in the previously disadvantaged areas. Here we would like to make mention of the roof of the Packlesdorp Stadium, whilst the stadium in town is being attended to meticulously. Mr. Speaker, we further notice that the municipality has an investment of 500 million at three banking institutions, yet we are indebted with loans of more than 300 million.
Thank you, Councillor. The time is up, unfortunately. We'll move on to the next speaker. And the final speaker on this item is Councillor Clark. You have 1 minute, please.
Speaker, thank you. Just to answer Councillor Ndaka, the administration has budgeted to electrify 500 informal structures. 10.5 million has been budgeted to electrify sheds. Is the BIP target
Councillor Ndaka, you've had your turn to talk. Councillor Ndaka, please.
Why are you still relying on me? And 180 sheds has already been done. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much.
I therefore second to the item. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. We move on. The next item is 11.2. The quarterly report to the Audit Committee for the third quarter, of which ended on the 31st of March 2023, to Council. The first person to speak on this item is Councillor Wessels. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Speaker. The report in front of Council speaks to the third quarter report from the Audit Committee. In this report, we can see various recommendations and insights from the Audit Committee into the workings of George Municipality. It is pleasing to read that the Audit Committee did not find any concerns relating to non-compliance and that no material matters of concerns was raised with regard to effective governance. Point B under the conclusions probably sums up this report best, where it clearly states that the Audit Committee is pleased with the continued progress of George Municipality. And Speaker, with that, I would recommend that Council notes this item. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor. The next person to speak on this item is Councillor Ndaka. You have 3 minutes. Councillor Faith Ndaka.
I really don't know who is paying this. this audit committee that is giving George every time good marks, while we don't see that. It's not that we don't want to see, we want to see things. And I've seen things that are not right in George, but George keeps getting good record on KPIs and on audit, of which I really don't understand that one. There are things in this report that I've just read that doesn't sound good. And it is, even if you don't want to believe it, if someone is going to reply again on this one, when you service the town, it's not equally as you service our own township. But still, you are still getting a good audit report. As an ANC man, we don't really understand this thing of your DA coalition. It's getting to our nerves, actually, but one day you will reap what you sow. You will reap what you sow. People will see that you are no.
Councillor, you've lost signal there. We've lost you for a second.
Not good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. We'll move on. The next person to speak on this item is Councillor Masase. You have 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Speaker. As good, we take note of the report of the Audit Committee for the third quarter. We wish to commend our Audit Committee for the work that they are doing to ensure that oversight is done properly regarding the municipal performance as assigned by the MFMA. We take note that the Audit Committee reported that it is pleased with the continuous progress made by the municipality in improving the overall governance, internal control, risk management. However, we also take note that the committee has identified problem areas and has urged the municipality to implement the recommended actions outlined by the committee and to do so in the agreed upon timeframes. IT remains a problem area, just as it was in the previous audit report. The Auditor General identified various control deficiencies, and we urge the municipality to improve on this. Regarding performance management, the Audit Committee also has seen some improvements. However, it is recommended that the municipality can do better. As good, we will continue to keep an eye on the Audit Committee reports and ensure that we are looking forward to seeing a report.
Time, Councillor. Thank you. Sorry. That's your 1 minute up. And we're going to continue. Thank you. The next party to speak on this item is the PBI. Councillor Peterson, you have 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, today I've been furnished with an audit report where the main aim is to comply with legislation. We believe that the critical issues that need to be reported on are strayed away from. Mr. Speaker, we believe that the George municipality has for the last couple of months gone through a turmoil and controversial period. Just recently, a senior official in the risk department decided to leave the employ of council controversially. Risk management is part of the terms of reference of the audit committee, yet no word is spoken about the sudden departure of this individual. Mr. Speaker, we further believe that in-house audit functions can be done better in order to avoid controversies. Last month, an item served with regard to the overpayment on a contract within the human settlements section. We believe that a proper investigation into this event still needs to be done. Yet this incident is not reported on in this item. Are we putting a plaster on a healthy finger, Mr. Speaker? Our aim cannot only be to comply, but also to prevent and to ensure that a reoccurrence does not take place. Mr. Speaker, we notice that the committee discussed very important issues with regard to supply chain, yet no resolutions are tabled in the report that stipulates the way forward or the gaps that need to be addressed. If these instances are addressed, it will avoid situations where items are brought before council where we need to rubber stamp the inefficiencies of those involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm going to hand over to the last speaker on this item, Councillor Fish. You have 1 minute.
We can't hear you, Speaker. You're very faint.
Sorry, I seem to be having a problem with my microphone. Can you hear me now? Okay. The last person to speak on this item is Councillor Fichland. You have 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Speaker. I second the proposal made by my colleagues.
Thank you very much. We move on to the next item, item 11.3, and that is the MFMA section 116 request tender number ENG 017 of 2019, provision of professional services for electrotechnical services for a period of 3 years from date of appointment, pages 262 to 279. And the first person to speak on this item is Councillor Mbete. You have 3 minutes, please.
Morning, Speaker. Speaker, the purpose of this submission is to request Council to approve the extension of tender ENG 017 of 2019, provision of professional services for electrotechnical service for a period of 3 years from date of appointment under the service level agreements entered into between the George Municipality and the various consultants appointed to the panel of service providers in respect of the professional consulting engineering services. The current maintenance agreement with the panel of service providers will be renewed on the same terms and conditions present in relation to the tender processes until the appointment of a new service provider in line with Section 1163 process. A tender process is currently underway under ENG 002 of 2023. The final specification meeting was held on the 13th March 2023. The tender was advertised in the George Herald on the 16th March 2023. The tender closed on the 21st April 2023. And a BEC and BAC process will follow accordingly with the award and soon. The award is however a 14-day period of objections before it can be made final, given the complexity of tender as well as the current overwhelming responsibilities, workload as well as resources constraints the department has. The risk is there that the process might not be concluded before the end of the existing contract extension. To ensure we are able to respond to the critical requirements of both current service delivery network requirements and our loading mitigating plans, the panel of service provider needs to be in place. The absence of the type of service provider will impact on the operation as well as our ability to respond adequately to organizational needs and citizens. Speaker, I propose that Council approves the extension of the tender and report that the municipal manager or the director of electrotechnical service directorate is duly authorized to conclude the extensions to service levels agreements with the service providers set out in this item, aligned to the Section 1163 processes, to ensure that the municipal electrotechnical capital projects can continue and remain in service until such time as a new service provider after the conclusion of municipal process. Modify the following to take note that the current panel of service providers appointed under tender ENG 017 of 2019 will maintain and extended on the same terms until such time as the process to appoint a new service provider in line with Section 1163. B, that the public participation process is required by MFMA Section 1163 and Section 21A of the Municipal Systems Act. C, that any feedback be brought to Council's attention. Therefore, Speaker, I propose. Thank you.
Next person to speak on this item is Councillor Mankele. You have 2 minutes, please.
Speaker, ANC siyayixhasa ukuhlokonyezelelwa kwethenda but sinento yokuthi singabaceba be-ANC xa kufakwa ezi companies makujongwe ii-companies ezilapha eGeorge kujongwe nakwicala lebala labantu bakuthi singasolokane sibona abantu bebala kwezi company zonke ezithi zisebenze apha kungaphindaphindwa iikhampani eziyi-1. Sijongile ke nale yoba ii-directors zimane zingafuni ukuza apha eThemba Lethu zizocacisa ezi zinto ngokubonakalisa ukuthi azikhathalelanga. Sikhona nathi kula masipala, funeke sihlonitshwe njengabantu abakhoyo ingabi ngathi kuba umasipala ekhokhelwe ipati ye-DA kube ngathi izawuzenzela. Sikujongile because bubuhlangana obo bubangela uba kungasihlonishwa ithemba lethu ngenxa yabani idlisela ngemajority kulo masipala. Enkosi kakhulu, sithi mayiqhube but kuqwalaselwe ezinto ezindizikhankanyileyo zingasentla. Enkosi kakhulu.
Thank you, Speaker. Greetings. We as the ANC, we support this item that yes, there should be a tender set out. But we as the councillors of ANC, we say that whenever you are going to choose companies, please make sure that these companies are from George or are from the area. Please make sure that there are also Black companies that are chosen. Please make sure that you do not choose just companies of color, but make sure that you also choose companies that will also represent us. We are also looking at this fact that directors do not want to come to our communities or to Thembalethu rather, so that they can come and address us on certain issues as the community. It shows that you do not care about us because we are also part of the George municipality. The municipality does not only comprise of white people or white areas, but we also form part of the George municipality at large. Therefore, it should not only look at the needs of other people, because we will regard that as racism if our needs are not met. So please, all this concern that I have raised, let them be considered. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person to speak on this item is Councillor Lowe. You have 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, this is not a good state of affairs, and we are in favor of the following normal processes. To request for an extension anti-competitive and it deprives our service providers to be added to the panel. It even deprives those that are currently on the panel and who is unhappy. The item does not state the reason for such an unprecedented and abnormal step. Now, Council must make a decision and find out later, found out the reasons later. We stand to benefit from such an extension. If this municipality is run on extensions, then I foresee problems going forward. As good, we are not supporting uncompetitive bankies for booty extensions, not now and not ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. The next person to speak on this item is Councillor Peterson. You have 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, today we are confronted with an item that should not be on the agenda. The reasons for this is straightforward. This is not a transversal tender where goods and services are required by more than one institution. This item therefore does not qualify in terms of this prescript. The tender agreement was entered into on the 11th of December 2019 for a period of 3 years. With proper contract management, the new process for tender should have started way in advance. It seems the administration only got wind that the contract will run out on the 10th of December 2022. The contract was thus extended until the 10th of June 2023. Did the administration not have enough time to sort out the tender? Did the specifications from the current contract differ vastly from what is required in the new tender? Mr. Speaker, we smell a rat here. Is there something sinister going on with this tender? There is a contract manager in place at the supply chain section. We believe that the contract manager should be held responsible for dropping the ball with this contract. Our question also here is how many other tenders are following the same route? We therefore ask that an investigation be done with regard to contract management in the supply chain section and that a full report must be brought before Council before the end of the financial year. Mr. Speaker, we believe that in the electrotechnical section, other tenders that should have been renewed were also missed. Here we ask if the tender for the management of the prepayment electricity system has been finalized. We believe that if the current tender contract is still in operation since 2012, that this amounts to maladministration. The same service provider for contract management here is responsible for this as well. Mr. Speaker, we further believe that if this extension for 3 years is awarded, that this will duplicate the current tender process, as it could mean that two tenderers would be doing the same job, or that one tenderer would have two contracts for the same specifications. We believe that this tender can only be extended on a month-to-month basis until the new process is finalized. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. The next person to speak on this item is Councillor Camille. You have 1 minute. Councillor Camille, your time is running. You have 1 minute.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I don't know. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes, we as EFF, as much as we know basic service delivery, it's needed by our people, but we are totally against of Landuza, tender system, the tendering system. We advise that we must build a municipal and government capacity, which will lead to abolishment of tenders. For a successful state that seeks to drive real economic and industrial development and provide better services, this should essentially be a state that has the capacity to marshal and all progressive social forces in society, particularly the working class, towards developmental objectives. The state should build internal capacity to contract and maintain infrastructure such as Landuza basic services. So we are totally against of tendering system, Mr. Speaker. We cannot support and approve these recommendations.
Councillor.
So we say George municipality must build the state and government capacity.
Your time is up, Councillor. Thank you. I'm going to ask that we find out who the microphone was that just spoke to while the other speaker was on, because I find it, first of all, in a breach of the code of conduct or the rules, and secondly, I find it very disrespectful to the person that's on the floor. The rules are very clear that nobody speaks while somebody else is on the floor. Councillor Peterson, you have put a proposal in the chat box. There is no seconder to that proposal. I'll have a look at it now. While I'm doing that, the next person to speak on the on this, sorry, I'm totally confused with. There was no translation need to be done, so it's Councillor Smart. Councillor Smart, you have 1 minute.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm not going to waste your time. Number one, there is, according to us, there's something sinister going on here, so we cannot support this item. Number two is we are asking for MPEC to investigate here, and I would like to second that proposal from the PBI. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. I just need to ask legal's opinion here. In the event of asking for an investigation, is that a proposal, or does that need to be brought in as an allegation? Really, I'm not sure that that's a proposal. Okay, so it needs to be. It's a counter proposal, so we need to vote on that. So I'm going to read it out. First of all, we need to do the last speaker on this item is Councillor Barnard. You have 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, I need to bring your attention to page 264, where it very clearly says that this tender has been advertised, the closing date being Friday the 21st of April, and that we are simply here asking for a bridging period so that service delivery can continue and that there is no gap between the end of the old tender and the awarding of the new tender. I also need to put on record that all tenders are awarded in line with the supply chain policy that we have in place, and I therefore propose that we accept the recommendation as put by my colleague Councillor Mbete. Thank you, Speaker. I so propose.
Thank you very much, councillors. We have a counter proposal on the table, and I'm going to read it as written in the chat box for the record. Sorry, councillors, can we please have one on the person on the floor at a time? The counter proposal in the chat box reads that the PBI proposed that an investigation be done with regard to contract management in the supply chain section, and they also propose that a report be brought to council before the end of the financial year, seconded by Councillor Cedric Smart from the PA. We are going to vote either in favour of the counter proposal or against the counter proposal. I'm going to ask that corporate services go through the attendance register and get the vote, please.
Councillor Adams.
I support the recommendation as per the agenda, so I vote against the counter proposal.
Okay, councillors, I need to get this very clear. You are either for the amended proposal or against the amended proposal. Please do not make it more difficult for us to find out. So in other words, it's either against or for the amended proposal, the counter proposal. That's all I want to hear, either for or against the counter proposal. Thank you.
I must thank you, Mr. Speaker. I must thank you.
Councillor Adams.
Against.
Councillor America.
Against.
Councillor Barnard.
Against.
Councillor Brown.
Against.
Councillor Kerwillis.
For.
Councillor Clark.
Against.
Councillor Cronje.
Against.
Councillor De Tooy.
Against.
Councillor Esau.
He has left the meeting.
Councillor E. Fichlen.
Against.
Councillor R. Fichlen.
Against.
Councillor Frey.
Against, Speaker.
Alderman Gericke.
In favor.
Councillor Gom. Councillor Gom. Councillor Greef.
For.
Councillor Gultig.
Against.
Councillor Honey. Councillor Honey. Councillor Jansen. For. Councillor Jantjies.
Against, Madam.
Councillor Johnson. Councillor Johnson. Alderman Kritzinger.
Against.
Councillor Kruger.
Against.
Councillor Lento. Councillor Lento. Councillor Losey. Councillor Losey. Councillor Arlo.
In favor.
Councillor Mankele. Councillor Mankele. Councillor Masasi.
In favor.
Councillor Mbete.
Unmute.
Councillor Mbete,
I'm Rose, against. Storm Rose, Councillor Lose is with me.
I'm also against.
Councillor Im Daka, Councillor Im Daka, Councillor F Mdaka, Councillor F Mdaka, Councillor Councillor Camille,
In favor of the investigation to take place.
Councillor Netling,
I'm against.
Councillor Nias,
Against.
Councillor Ntondini, Councillor Ntondini, Councillor Peterson,
In favor for clear administration.
Alderman Petrus,
Against.
Councillor Katana,
Against.
Councillor Kampi, Councillor Kampi, Councillor Rosa,
Against.
Councillor Cyphers,
Against.
Councillor Summers,
Against.
Councillor Smart,
In big favor.
Councillor Snyman,
Against.
Councillor Toto, Councillor Toto, Alderman Van Niekerk,
Against.
Alderman Van Wyk,
Against. Also note Councillor Johnson has voted in the chat box.
noted Alderman, Councillor Von Branders,
Against. Thank you.
Councillor Wessels,
Against.
Councillor Van Wyk.
Against.
Thank you, Speaker.
Very much. We'll wait for your tally. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, while she's counting, we didn't hear the apologies of 3 councillors from Good.
Councillor, it's got nothing to do with this meeting. Thank you.
So you are declaring that they are no longer councillors?
Councillor, please, I'm not going to discuss this matter. It's got nothing to do with this agenda, and therefore I'm not going to discuss it. Thank you.
Speaker,
Yes.
we have 9 in favor, 30 not in favor, and 9 abstain.
Thank you very much. I'm going to repeat just for clarity. 9 in favor, 9 abstentions, and 30 against. So therefore, the motion carries as presented by the item. Thank you very much. We're going to continue with item 11.4, the rectification of council resolution regarding the alienation of portion of the remainder of ARF 621 George, situated on the Campasdrift riverbank. And the first person to speak on this item is Councillor Wessels. You have 3 minutes, please.
Hi, thank you very much, Speaker. Yes, this is a item that's coming back to Council now. The item originally served in front of Council on the 30th of March, pertaining to the rehabilitation and possible sale of a portion of public open space of 621 George, which is located in Campasdrift. So this matter was tabled at the mayoral committee that was held on the 15th of March, where a amended resolution was tabled, but in the council meeting, unfortunately, that amendment was not minuted correctly, which resulted in an incorrect resolution being carried in from the mayoral committee to council. So the matter has been thoroughly discussed and at the previous council. So I would just then now like to recommend the recommendation that is currently in the item, and that is from A to H on page 283 and 284. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Councillor. The next person to speak on this item is Councillor Honey. You have Councillor Honey, you have 1 minute, please. The party ANC is Councillor Honey available. Can we continue, please? We have 1 minute. The time is counting down. Is there anyone from the ANC that would like to talk on this for 1 minute? Otherwise, I'm going to move on. I have no hands up. I have nothing, so I'm going to move on. The next person to speak on this item, therefore, is Councillor von Branders. You have 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Speaker. I will just second the recommendation made by my colleague, Councillor Wessels.
Thank you very much. That item therefore carries. Councillors, we're going to move on to item 12, motions or proposals deferred from previous meetings. None. Item 13, new motions. None. Item 14, matters of the discretion of the Speaker. I would like to take this opportunity to inform the ward councillors of wards 14, 23, 27, 16, 6, 7, 8, 17, 20, 12, 13, 15, 9, 10, and 11, that there will be a public educational session that has been booked for the 16th and the 17th, and this will be communicated by the administration. It is a joint project between the George Municipality and the Cape Provincial Government, where we will be giving the public information regarding how and they can become more involved and how they can become citizens that can participate in local government. So just a heads up to all those councillors, please. We will be sending out notifications to inform you which days and where the venues will be taking place. But I just felt it is important that those councillors know that it is a joint venture between the two parties and that we will be in those areas at that time. Having said that, I have nothing further. Urgent matters by the municipal manager. MM, do you have anything that you'd like to mention?
Speaker, no, I don't have any urgent matters. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. With that is the end of the open session of this meeting. I'm going to ask that we have an early lunch based on the fact that we have load shedding now until 12 o'clock. So I'm going to ask that we now break and reconvene at just after 12. Let's make it 10 past 12 so that we can all be online and that the electricity is back and that we can then proceed with the confidential portion of this meeting. So have a good lunch and we'll see you back here at 10 past 12. Thank you.